This is an official IHK vocational certificate confirming Andreas Hierling's graduation as an IT specialist in application development. In most contexts, this document represents a high level of technical logic and professional competence. However, Hierling is currently held inside a closed psychiatric ward, where his capacity for reason is being systematically disregarded. His confinement is built on a specific legal paradox. Hierling is actively attempting to sign a voluntary treatment declaration, but the clinic is blocking him. Instead, they are pursuing an involuntary commitment under the Civil Code, or BGB, a move that effectively converts a citizen into a legal object under the control of a state-appointed guardian. This involuntary status carries immediate physical consequences. Because he is held under the BGB rather than a specific judicial mandate for treatment, the medical staff is administering powerful antipsychotics like aripiprazole without his consent or a dedicated court order. Hierling's own documentation records the impact of this forced medication. The dosage has induced akathisia, a state of severe, uncontrollable physical restlessness. He reports that this chemically induced distress has directly led to increased irritability and aggressive breakthroughs, which the clinic then uses to justify further confinement. By blocking Hierling's attempt at voluntary consent while simultaneously enforcing chemical restraint, the psychiatric care system replaces individual autonomy with total institutional control. To challenge his situation, Hierling initiated a systemic stress test. He attempted to engage the 3 institutional safety nets designed to protect his constitutional rights: the clinic's medical leadership, his legal guardian, and the political sphere. The first pillar, the clinic, failed immediately. When Hierling presented precise legal objections regarding the lack of a judicial order, the medical director, Dr. Herwig, dismissed the inquiry. He provided a 2-line response citing medical complexity as a blanket justification, effectively vaporizing Hierling's legal arguments. The failure of the second pillar, the legal guardian, was even more surreal. Lawyer Zarko Dmitrievich sent this email, assigning the IT specialist a task: memorize Frühlingsgruß, a 19th century poem. Hierling responded with a sharp historical deconstruction. He argued against the lawyer's psychological power play by pointing out how romantic motifs like the German forest were historically instrumentalized for exclusionary nationalist purposes, refusing to play the role of a submissive student. The final pillar, the political sphere, proved equally impotent. Appeals to organizations like Die Linke resulted in expressions of sympathy, but ultimately ended in an admission of total administrative helplessness. They claimed they had no authority to intervene in the internal structures of the psychiatric system. Hierling identifies this state of affairs as epistemic injustice. His logic and legal knowledge are systematically ignored by the medical and legal authorities who determine his physical freedom, rendering standard institutional routes useless. When every institutional safety net fails, a unique legal trigger is activated. Hierling invokes Article 20, Paragraph 4 of the German Basic Law. This charta, the German constitution, grants citizens the right to resist anyone seeking to abolish the constitutional order, but only as a final resort when no other remedy is available. Hierling's first phase of resistance was radical documentation. He shifted his role from patient to whistleblower, acting as an internal auditor of the ward's operations. He used every communication to build an irrefutable dossier of institutional misconduct. In this message, he explicitly confronts his lawyer about the forced administration of drugs without a judicial order, forcing the authorities to acknowledge their actions in a time-stamped digital record. This strategy transformed the ward into a legal theater, where Hierling served as the sole witness to a state apparatus operating outside its own laws. Phase 2 of the protocol involved asymmetric legal warfare. He saw the local district court was blindly approving the clinic's requests, so he bypassed them entirely. He began filing formal complaints directly with the Landgericht Konstanz and initiated personal criminal charges for assault against the doctors involved in his treatment. Alongside the legal filings, Hierling initiated Phase 3, physical and civil disobedience within the locked ward. This involved the peaceful refusal to ingest unconstitutional medication. This refusal forces the medical staff to move from quiet compliance to overt physical coercion if they wish to administer the drugs. By refusing to comply, Heerling forces the institution to manifest its latent violence, creating the physical evidence of assault necessary to substantiate his claims in higher courts. The ZFP Reichenau ward exists as a jurisdictional black hole, a physical space within a democracy where the standard protections of the state can be suspended. When a citizen is stripped of autonomy, and a state-appointed lawyer prioritizes poetry over legal defense, the constitutional order has been locally abolished. Resistance in this context is a man in a locked room using the text of the Constitution as a tactical shield against institutional silence. If your own rights were suspended and your guardian responded to your pleas with homework, would you have the composure and the presence of mind